And now, WTOE Radio Live, brought to you by ThroughOurEyes.org.
Cheryl Echevarria of Echevarria Travel, your one-on-one travel agent, making your travel dreams come true. Home of the independent traveler. Whether you're sighted, blind, or disabled, whether you use a cane, guide dog, or sighted guide, Echevarria Travel will get you there safely. Come and learn more about traveling independently.
Come with me, let's go. Come with me, let's go. Come with me, let's go. Come with me, let's go.
It's very windy here in Long Island, New York, and we're expecting some snow and sleet and all kinds of weather within the next 24 to 48 hours. So I hope everybody in that snow path is safe and well. Tonight I have two guests on tonight, and our first guest coming on after the 5-minute break is the Vice President of the NFB of Florida, Mr. Dwight Sayer. And we'll be talking about the first convention cruise coming up in 2014. We'll touch a little bit about the National Convention in Orlando, Florida, and also a little bit on the State Convention of the NFB of Florida. And then on the second half of the show, I have a gentleman named Eli Meir from Israel for All, and he's a tour operator out in Israel who specializes in people with disabilities, especially people who are blind. Some interesting things that I found out today, helping somebody that's part of the NFB, and she's going to be traveling to Paris, France in May with her guide dog, and I've been helping her with her airlines and finding out about ADA laws in France. As we know, once we leave the United States, not every single country out there follows the same rules and regulations here in the United States. But she said to me, well, her school wanted to charge an extra $1,500. Actually, the hotel in France wanted to charge an extra $1,500 just for the dog staying in the hotel with her. So I reached out to the International Guide Dog Foundation out in the UK, and they gave me the email and phone numbers to the French Guide Dog Foundation, and they emailed me back and saying this hotel is way out of what France says, which is the same thing here in the United States, which guide dogs are allowed in hotels, restaurants, any public locations out there. So if you're thinking about you want to go to France or the UK or Germany or a lot of the European countries out there and you want to take your guide dog with you, guess what? Your dog is allowed into those countries with the proper permits and paperwork, and as well as they're allowed in any place publicly that you can go to. So those are some things to think about. I wanted to bring up before we got a break that the WTOE network is run and produced by the Northeast chapter of the NFB in New Jersey. And we run on donations. So please, if you enjoy what you hear, either my show or Through Our Eyes with Joe Ruffalo or Looking Good Without Looking or On the Bright Side, please send donations to the NFB New Jersey at 254 Spruce Street in Bloomfield, New Jersey, 07003, and put in the memo to throughOurEyes.org, and your donations will go to the radio station. So right now we're going to take a few-minute break. When we come back, I'll bring on my first guest, Dwight Sayer. So stay tuned. Hi, this is Cheryl Echevarria of Echevarria Travel, your one-on-one travel agent, making your travel dreams come true, home of the independent traveler. Whether you're sighted, blind, or disabled, whether you use a cane, guide dog, or sighted guide, Echevarria Travel will get you there safely. Come and learn more about traveling independently.
Come with me, let's go. Come with me, let's go. Come with me, let's go. Come with me, let's go.
I can listen. I can cook.
Good. I can coach.
Kids with something to do are less likely to do drugs.
I can drive.
I can paint.
I can dance.
A little of your time can make a lifetime of difference.
I can read.
I can help.
You can help. Call toll-free 1-877-KIDS-313 to find out about community drug prevention programs.
I can keep a kid off drugs.
Hi, I'm Keith Zalley, your announcer here at throughoureyes.org. I'd like to ask all our listeners who have not yet registered at Through Our Eyes to consider doing so. Registering helps us ascertain whom our listeners are, where they come from, if they are blind or visually impaired, as well as other important information which helps us guide us in providing programming that will meet our visitors' needs. I urge all our listeners to register today. It's free and only takes a minute to complete the process. Please read our privacy policy so you can be assured that the information you provide stays with us and only us, and you'll never get any unwanted emails.
Global warming is here. The effects may seem slight now,
but in a few decades,
they could be massive. What can we do?
we can join together. Because when many unite as one,
we can achieve anything.
Find out how we can still reduce greenhouse gas pollution. Go to fightglobalwarming.com. Brought to you by Environmental Defense, the Robertson Foundation, and the Ad Council.
Come with me, let's go.
And we're back. I just want to let everybody know that we are live, and you can call in tonight and speak to me, to Dwight, to Eli, and the toll-free number is 1-888-572-0141. And my first guest tonight is a member of the NFB family, the Vice President of the NFB of Florida, Mr. Dwight Sayer. Dwight, are you there?
I'm here, Cheryl. How are you tonight?
I'm doing quite well, and I'm looking at a lovely picture of yourself that you sent me. So everybody that can see how handsome Dwight is. I want to start out like I always do, is to ask our guest, who is Dwight Sayer, and how long have you been with the NFB, and why you're with the NFB?
Well, let's see. The reason I'm with the NFB, I guess, is because of my first Braille teacher, Buffa Hance, at the Kentucky Department for the Blind. Buffa introduced me to the NFB, and after completing 6 months residential training at the Kentucky Department for the Blind, I attended my first national convention in Philadelphia, and I knew after attending that convention that I'd found a home.
Awesome. And you're Vice President of the NFB of Florida. How long have you been in that position? And you're also president of one of the chapters there as well.
Well, yeah, I'm president of the Greater Central Florida chapter of the NFB, and I've been probably a state officer in the National Federation of the Blind of Florida for 10 years. Actually started out as secretary, and over the years have held several positions up to first vice president, and And I also actually am president of the National Association of Blind Veterans, which is a national division of the National Federation of the Blind.
That's awesome. Tonight I have Dwight on the phone with us because the NFB of Florida is doing something very different with the state convention in 2014. And I'm part of that. In fact, I'm the travel agent for the state convention of 2014. And why don't we let you talk a little bit about that, Dwight? So what is the Cruise Convention 2014?
Well, Cheryl, as probably many folks may not be aware, we in Florida are facing an interesting challenge. Starting this year, for the next 6 years, we have a national convention for the National Federation of the Blind in Orlando. And with that comes a challenge for us at the state affiliate to try and figure out how we can keep our state conventions new and different and exciting enough to encourage people to come to our state convention and also attend the national convention that's going to be in Orlando. And of course, that presents a really interesting challenge to us. And so we decided that we needed to think outside the box a bit and try and come up with a convention venue that would be interesting and exciting and hopefully draw enough interest that folks would want to come to our state convention as well as attend a national convention in Orlando. And, you know, with your help and a lot of work, we had settled on February 7th through the 10th of 2014 to have what we're calling Cruisevention 2014, which is basically the Florida affiliate state convention being held on the Norwegian Sky cruise ship sailing out of Miami on a 3-day cruise. Of course, being on a cruise ship, it's a little different than holding a convention in a hotel. And so that brought some interesting challenges. And of course, working with you and the good folks at NCL, we've been able to craft an agenda that not only lets us get all of our state convention business done, and also have our banquet in a little bit of a different venue where instead of a banquet, we're going to have kind of a cocktail banquet session where we will get our presentation from our national rep and enjoy a cocktail session in one of the lounges and do that formal part of the banquet, and then move from the banquet into one of the dining areas for the actual eating part of it. So it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be different from what we've always done in the past, but we think it's going to be new and it's going to be exciting, and it's going to allow people to have enough time, even with us getting all of our state business done, to be able to enjoy not only the ship but the two ports of call with the NCL Island and also in Nassau. So it's been fun, and working with you and the folks at NCL, I think we've crafted something that's maybe going to be a model for something else in the future. Who knows?
Exactly, and their Norwegian Cruise Line, as I mentioned many times on my radio show, they have been a great partner with me, working to get their cruise ships more accessible to the blind, especially as many of the listeners know that years ago that Norwegian and the blind didn't get along very well with each other, and that but that's all in the past. But they have been working one-on-one with me to get Braille menus, to get more of their ships properly Braille, like their elevators. Some elevators weren't. They're getting them all up to par for that, and educating their staff a lot better. What I wanted to mention also, as we're talking about this, I had a very interesting conversation with Cheryl O'Brien, and she's the president of FLAGDU, which is the Florida National Association of Guide Dog Division chapters. And I was talking to her about that because many people had questions pertaining to bringing a guide dog on a ship. And as in the past, as I mentioned when cruising, always check with the ports of call to make sure that the dogs are allowed in those ports of call. And having my dog in both of those ports of call, there are not going to be any problems bringing your dogs there. We are going to have one beach day, so if you don't want your dog at the beach for that day, there's also plenty of stuff to do on the ship. So you got the best of both worlds there. As long as we know how many guide dogs are coming with us, enough boxes and fill for the boxes will be available for your dogs. And there's also, other than the dogs for the kids, they get some of the most wonderful activities for the kids on Norwegian, and they've just implemented a brand new splash program for like Mommy and Me program for younger kids up until 17 years old. So there's plenty to do for everybody on the ship. Besides having the convention meetings, there'll be plenty of times to enjoy the ship outside of the meetings as well. Now, with what you were mentioning, Dwight, you talked about a lot of what the cruise is about. So in reference to passports, do you want to bring that information up as well?
Well, yeah. Obviously, we're going to be sailing out of the United States, so obviously you'll be needing a passport to make your cruise. There's a couple of options. Back when I got my passport, you couldn't get anything but a passport. So I guess now they have a card that you can get that's in lieu of the passport book, but it's not as flexible or as usable in all sorts of international travel. So you want to make sure if you opt to do one of the other options other than the regular passport book, that you make sure that that's the right decision. I'm sure Cheryl can expound on that a little bit better than I can, other than the fact that if you're going to pay for a passport, you might as well get or for me anyway, I want the real thing, so that no matter what happens, if I decide to fly someplace or go someplace other than just in the Caribbean, that I have something that's usable and worth the investment. So I think there's a little bit of difference in cost, but one of the things we're doing for our state members is the affiliate is setting up multiple opportunities in as far as fundraisers that we're going to be doing to actually help those that have booked our cruise and our state, Florida NFB members, to assist them in paying for some of those extras that you wouldn't necessarily have if you were going to a hotel. So between the raffles and some of the other fundraisers, we think we're going to be able to supplement folks' budgets enough that it will be equal to or maybe even cheaper than a regular state convention, and including having to pay for their passport. With the opportunities that we're going to be giving, we think that it's going to be an excellent opportunity for people that may have never cruised or may have never even been out of the United States before as a blind traveler, and give them the opportunity to experience that. So did I expound on that passport stuff enough, Cheryl, or do you want to kick in?
You did, and I would like to say, first of all, when you go for your passports, they last 10 years. It's almost like getting a driver's license or a non-driver's license. They last for 10 years. So if you think about it, with getting the passport and the processing fee through the post office where you need to fill out your passport, it's $125. If you wanted to get both the passport book and the passport card, it's only $20 more. So if people go to Mexico or go to Canada or even some other islands in the Caribbean, and you don't want to take that card, but I highly recommend that you take the passport book because it is more acceptable in especially going to the Caribbean and outside over to Europe and everything. You cannot use those passport books if you go to Europe or Africa or Asia or South America. So the wiser choice is to invest in getting the passport book. It's only $125, and again, it lasts 10 years. And yes, the kids need them as well, or you have to have the original birth certificate with a seal and a photo ID from their school. But if they don't have a photo ID, they need something, because you don't want to get stuck or somebody getting sick or God forbid anything, which, of course, none of this ever happens, but you never know, and that's very important. The other thing I want to alleviate as to what Dwight was saying about assistance, first of all, for this cruise, you have to book with me. You can't contact Norwegian Cruise Lines on your own and get into the group. If you do, you're not going to get all the amenities. You're not going to get everything that the convention is getting. We got special things going on, including I was able to get a free photo of the group for everybody. Hopefully we'll get everybody together on the winding staircase there and take one large group photo of everybody that it's attending, or a couple of different shots. So you're actually going to get a keepsake, and some excursions going on in the Bahamas. But if you book, and when you book with me, not if, when you book with me and you're saying, oh, well, this may be a little bit out of my pocketbook, your initial deposit is $50 per person. And then I've been setting up payment plans for everybody. So I think the most expensive one is about $50 a month, and that's for 2 people in the room. We have held interior ocean view balcony. If you want a suite, we could get you a suite and put you into the room. So there's plenty of options out there for you to do. So bring the kids, bring the dogs, bring the parents, bring the grandparents. I've also held separate group of 16 staterooms plus. So if you have friends and family that do not belong to the NFB, or NFB members that are listening and want to come along with us, you're more than welcome to, but I got to book you into the other group, same prices. All of that is listed on the ECHEVARRIATRAVEL.com website under the NFB of Florida 2014 convention. Or you can email me at reservations@ECHEVARRIATRAVEL.com, or you can call me at 631-456-5394, or I'm sure if anybody has any other questions, you can contact Dwight, Dan, Gloria Hicks, or any of your chapter presidents and ask them, what is the NFB of Florida convention we want to go? And then they'll give you my information and call me up and I'll book you. So, Dwight, did you want to make, talk about the registration or anything with the national convention or the state convention while we're on convention talk here?
Well, 3 things I wanted to put to say. One is that you can go to nfbflorida.org and see the registration document for our NFB 2013 convention, which is going to be in St. Petersburg. And Mark Riccobono is going to be our national rep and speaker from national at our 2013 convention. We also have one of the more famous talking book readers is going to be one of our guest keynote speakers. So that's available to book and get taken care of if you're of the notion that you want to come to our 2013 convention, which we certainly hope. Also, online you can book your registration and banquet for the national convention in Orlando now. So it's if you're going to come to national, it's time to start thinking about and taking care of those bookings. One of the other things I wanted to talk about is on a Cruisevention, on a cruise ship, how easy it is to get around. Because I've heard some folks, have a little bit of concern about how they would get around a ship. and having sailed many, many times, cruise ships are really easy to navigate. They have all kinds of things in the elevator areas and public places. They actually have actual big tactile versions of the ship that you can actually feel, you know, the front end of the ship and the aft end of the ship and midships and where the cabins are, and get a, you know, and they actually point them in the direction that, so that if the aft is in pointing in a certain direction that you're feeling, that's where the aft end of the ship is. So there's lots of tactile stuff on the ship to help you orient yourself. There's no place on the ship that you can't have a great time, because if you get wandering down the halls to the cabins, if you keep going, you just your way back around, and probably will end up in a public area where one of the great lounges or restaurants are, and all kinds of folks that you can talk to and ask if you're particularly lost for some reason, and aren't sure where maybe the dining facility is, or where the theater is for great shows, and the like. And it's all really easy to find. The areas that you walk in for navigating are generally wide and spacious, and there's just all kinds of places. If you just get tired of walking, there's all kinds of places to just sit down and either relax or have a toddy, or maybe stop and have an espresso or a gelato, or you know, any number of things that no matter where you go, there always seems to be something going on. So you know, and if you like to eat, you know, there's nothing better than being on a cruise ship, because you can just about eat 24/7, and
exactly,
no matter wherever you happen to wander, you can almost always find food. So it's just an awesome venue to experience, and then also being able to get outside the U.S. and experience the Bahamas and a little different culture just kind of adds to that ambiance that's just really incredible. So I hope folks will look at Cruisevention 2014 and just think that, man, what an opportunity to experience something really cool, really different, and maybe something you've never done before.
And on top of that, normally when we have a typical state convention, you have to pay for your banquet ticket, and you have to pay for your lunches during the day and everything. With a cruise, everything is included. I mean, unless, yes, you're gonna, your alcohol is not, and your excursions aren't, but, you know, 90% of your cruise is already paid for. You're not spending more to eat at the main dining room, or even with the cocktail party we're having for the banquet. It's already included in the cruise. You're not spending a dime more for any of that. So it's a great experience to do, and maybe other states that are listening besides Florida, or you want to test it out yourself for your state convention, come along with us and, have an enjoyable experience. It's only, from Friday to Monday, so it's not like, you go away from 7 days. It's, and people are worried about being seasick. By the time the ship gets to Great Stirrup Cay, you would never know you on a ship. I mean, it's less than, it's about 24 hours, and it's not like the old days. Oh my God, I'm gonna get seasick. You barely know you're on a ship anymore. So it's a lot of fun, and like Dwight said, even if you're new to something, you're on a cruise ship. You can't really get lost. There's your staterooms, unless you're meeting some of your other friend on another stateroom level. You're basically on the same 3 or 4 levels of the ship, and it may seem like a lot, but it's not. I did want to stress the fact that if anybody needs a wheelchair accessible room, they are sometimes the first staterooms to go, and we are, yes, less than a year away of going, but guess what? Those accessible staterooms I cannot hold, even though we have a block of rooms. If you need a wheelchair accessible room, and I don't mean for the guide dogs, I mean you need the scooter, you need the wheelchair 24/7. You got to book those now instead of later, because we may not have them. So I just want to throw that out there. If you're going to go, please let us know as soon as possible, okay? We're coming to the end of the first half hour. I want to thank Dwight Sayer for being on the show tonight, and hopefully we could get him back in the future when we are a little more closer to the dates, like when we're talking about getting to the port, what kind of transportation we'll get to the ship, because people are starting to ask me about that, travel insurance, all that. Maybe after National Convention, I'll have Dwight back. We'll talk more about this great convention coming on. So have a great night, Dwight, and thank you for coming on tonight.
Cheryl, thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity, and God bless all of you in the Federation. We look forward to seeing you on Cruisevention 2014.
And I'll see you at National. Take care, Dwight.
Good night.
And when we come back, I'm going to have Eli Meir from Israel for All. So we're going to take a hard break here so Letty can back up our show, and you can, see me on my website, because I do upload it to my website, and it's on YouTube and on Facebook. So, Letty, we're going to go to break. We'll be back soon.
Hi, I'm Keith Zally, your announcer here at WTOE Radio Network. We're going to take a little bit long with this break to save our files for podcasts. So don't go anywhere, because there'll be more of the ECHEVARRIA Travel Show in just a bit.
Come with me, let's go.
Amber alert, abducted child, African-American girl, 6 years old. Suspect, Caucasian male, 30 to 35, 6 feet, 180 pounds, wearing blue shirt, black jeans.
Now when an Amber Alert is issued,
White van, out-of-state license, X-ray 687 Charlie.
you can get the same information the authorities get right on your cell phone. Sign up for free at wirelessamberalerts.org. When an Amber Alert is issued in the areas you've chosen, you'll receive a free text message. If you spot the vehicle, the suspect, or the child described in the alert, call 911. Sign up today at wirelessamberalerts.org. Think of it. Something as simple as a free text message could free an abducted child.
All units, Amber Alert canceled. Child recovered safely. Suspect is in custody. Repeat, Amber Alert canceled.
wirelessamberalerts.org. A child is calling for help. This message brought to you by the Wireless Foundation, the U.S. Department of Justice, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and the Ad Council.
If you think depression is all in a person's head, you're right. It's a brain illness. And like other illnesses, it has symptoms. A person suffering from depression might feel sad, empty, or numb. They might sleep more or less, eat a lot or not at all, or show little interest in participating in ordinary activities. Mood swings, including anger and sadness, are common. They're often tired and have a hard time concentrating or making decisions. Depression can make those who suffer from it feel hopeless. It can even lead to suicide. If you see the symptoms of depression, get that person to a doctor. With medical help, depression can be treated and suicide can be prevented. Learn how to stop depression from taking another life. Call SAVE, Suicide Awareness Voices of Education, 1-888-511-SAVE, on the web at save.org.
Mommy, you sure take the time and do a lot just to keep me safe. Knee pads, baby gates, corner cushions, socket covers, and that fancy car seat for big girls like me. Where'd you find that thing?
The odds of a child being in a fatal automobile accident? 1 in 23,000. The odds of a child being diagnosed with autism? 1 in 150. You know the odds of autism. Now learn some of the signs. No big smiles or other joyful expressions by 6 months. No back and forth sharing of sounds or facial expressions by 9 months. And no babbling by 12 months. To learn more of the signs and more about autism, visit autismspeaks.org.
So, Mom, while you're remembering to protect me from the unthinkable, don't dismiss the possible.
Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Hi, Hi, I'm Judy.
And my name is Johnny.
We're 10 years old and we're blind. Our dreams are to become scientists.
My name is Catherine. I'm 24 years old and I'm blind. I'm currently in law school, and one day I dream of becoming an attorney.
My name is Bill. I'm 74 years old and I've just become blind. My dream is to remain independent in my own home and not have to go to a nursing home just because I'm blind.
The National Federation of the Blind of New York has been helping blind people achieve their dreams since 1956. Help keep their dream machine running and visit blindnewyorkers.org to make a donation. You can also call them at 718-567-7821. Blind people are your neighbors and colleagues, so learn more about blindness and make your contribution today. Go to blindnewyorkers.org or call 718-567-7821. The National Federation of the Blind of New York. Today's dreams can become tomorrow's realities.
Come with me, let's go.
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm very excited to have you on tonight. As you know, this is a show that is run by the National Federation of the Blind Northeast Chapter of New Jersey. And your company specializes in people with special needs. And I'd like for you to give us a little feedback on who you are and why you started your business in this particular realm of people with special needs. Okay. Can you give us a little history on yourself?
Yeah. Some introduction. My first job was a social worker. Worked as a social worker for 15 years with people with disabilities, all kinds of disabilities. And I founded this organization, this company actually, for making tours for people with disabilities, because I saw that we need more of that, because it wasn't existing in Israel. It was about 15 years ago. So now
before you continue, can you move your camera down just a touch? Much better. Okay. Go ahead, continue. I'm sorry, I stopped your train of thought. I apologize.
Okay. So we are doing tours for about 15 years now. Mostly for people with disabilities, all kinds of disabilities. We had all kinds of them during the years. Mostly people on wheelchairs, but a lot also people hard of hearing, people blind people that came with their guide dogs and all these.
Okay. Before we continue, I do have a caller on the line, and her name is Catherine from California. Catherine, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, and so is my husband, Ralph, and we wanted to make a comment, if that's okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, we just wanted to say that we went on a tour with Ellie's organization in September of Israel, and I use a wheelchair, motorized wheelchair, and my husband's blind, and we really had a great tour. some things are really, really ancient, so they're not, you can't get to some things, or I couldn't with my chair, but I could get as close as humanly possible, and it was great. They gave us just the right amount of assistance, and we saw so much. We were all over the country, and wherever there were models or, things that Ralph could experience tactily, we did that, the music, the food. We just had a wonderful trip. So, if anybody has any questions about the level of service or the coordination, we had a very good experience. So, thanks, Ellie.
Yeah, they were very accommodating.
Oh, hello, Ralph. How are you? That's wonderful.
Okay.
Now, for somebody that, and I understand both disabilities, for somebody that is blind, do you just use a cane, or do you use a guide dog, Ralph, or
I use a cane.
Okay, and as you were saying, a lot of tactile things going on, a lot of, because blind people and I understand your wife is in a wheelchair, and it's very, and I'm glad you explained that about, you couldn't get as close as you wanted to certain things, especially when, even here in the United States or anywhere you're going to, some things aren't as easy to get to as we think they're good to get to. Even out here with the winter time, and the streets are filled with ice, or the sidewalks are broken or something, we have to find alternative ways. But I wanted to ask, and then I'll go back to Eli, especially since Ellie, especially since we have somebody that's taken his tours, because people think when they're going on these escorted tours, they're sitting on a bus all day, and they're going, well, I can't see anything. Were the tour itself very explanatory and stuff like that you didn't feel like, oh my God, I'm sitting here all day and I can't enjoy myself?
No, I didn't really find that. There was certainly, some time spent just getting from one place to another, but the Ellie or the other gentleman that went with us were very good about explaining, where we were and what we were seeing and that kind of stuff. And then, most of the time was spent at one of the sites or another where we were there to experience one of the museums or the historic sites or whatever. And in as many of those locations as possible, wherever they had, and a number of them did have like tactile maps or models that they were able to show to me. And in instances where there wasn't anything like that, they would, try to give me an opportunity to, touch walls or pillars or whatever wasn't, behind barriers and so forth. And actually, as we've experienced in other countries, some places, and this was true in Israel, they weren't nearly as conscious in terms of, protecting everything and so forth as maybe in the U.S., so that there were situations where probably if it had been in this country, they would have had it behind glass or behind a barricade, but there, was out in the open where you could, go and touch it if you wanted to. So, there were certainly some situations where I wasn't able to, do everything that I might have liked, but I would say, for, the circumstances where there was a, lot of areas that weren't accessible to Catherine, they would, take me and we would go into those areas where you could walk and so forth. So I had a very good experience.
Well, I want to thank both of you. Did you want to say hello to Ellie while he's here and just say a quick few hellos to him?
Hello.
Yeah, hi, Ellie. It was good to hear
hi,
you
Ralph,
again.
how are you?
Yeah, now we're off to Portugal. We've got our tour pretty much arranged for this summer, but we sure enjoyed our trip with you. It was really wonderful with you and Yossi, both of you. It was a great trip, a memorable trip. We will hope to come back some year.
Thank you very much. I saw that you enjoyed.
Yes, very much.
Thank you for calling in tonight. Now, Ellie, I'm going to get back to you now. They were really selling you. So myself, I'm Jewish. My husband's Catholic, and one day we'd love to get to Israel. But a lot of people feel, especially hearing things going on over there, and anywhere in the world. I mean, you could have things going on here in New York. How safe is it for people to travel to Israel?
Yes. The news are not very friendly for us. Usually during the news, you can't really get the picture of Israel because we are traveling all year long. We have people traveling without any fear and without any barriers. And it's more about news that are making the situation much harder than it is. We can travel. We are traveling. We have most of the year without any problem, without any fear, and without any special problems, like in other countries in the world. We have wonderful sites that you can visit. We have a lot of history here, so. You are just invited.
Thank you. Now, on your tours, like I said, I'm Jewish, my husband's Catholic. Do you visit any of the Muslim areas? I mean, do you visit all three areas of religions there in Israel, or do you just focus on one area?
No, we can build a tour. We are building tours that you at least see all the three areas of and you can experience Christianity, you can experience Judaism through your tour, and also, of course, the Muslim sites. We have them all over Israel. So during the tour, you'll see them, you'll get them, and we'll explain everything.
That's great. Now, being somebody who I use cane and sighted guide, and I use my guide dog. What are the things that people need when bringing their dog to Israel? And are any of the sites off limits to somebody that's using a service animal?
Actually, we don't have any limitations because we are. I just checked again with the new laws and so. And we have everything open, and you can bring your dog without any problems. And we have you need to have your checkings at home, but no more than that. When you bring it, you can bring it on a plane. You can bring the dog on a plane. You can have it next to you, and no problems about it.
And the accessibility in Israel, I mean, I'm sure, of course, of the mosques, I know, but any of the temples or anything, do they have any issues with bringing the dogs in there?
Usually not. Depends. Sometimes it depends on the person on the site. You know, sometimes it's not the official way. The official way, it's open for everybody. But sometimes the person on the site sometimes making some trouble, mostly in the mosques.
Okay. Now, where are some of the sites that you take people to when you're in Israel? What's a typical tour like? If I'm going for 7 days, what can I expect to see when I'm on one of your tours?
Actually, we are focusing on two areas, the north and around Jerusalem. For the first time visitors, we are landing in Tel Aviv, staying in Tel Aviv for a day or two, and then going to the north, around the Sea of Galilee, around the Galilee, and then we are going to Jerusalem. All these sites that are around these areas are totally accessible for the people. They have a lot of stories to tell, and we have a lot of history around us. So it takes time, but every site is interesting, and every site has its own interest for the people.
Now, Ellie does have a website, and it's called IsraelForAll.com, and it's accessible to people that are blind, so that way you can use it with your JAWS and stuff. He does have a Facebook page. He is on LinkedIn. So Ellie is on all the social networks, and there's full description of all the tours that he does, either a group or privately or a private tour. You're available to go on there, and if you're looking to have to have me work with you, to get in touch with Ellie to set up tours with him, you can reach me at 631-456-5394. So I could get in touch with you as well on those issues, preparing your paperwork, your guide dog. When traveling to Israel, do you need any shots? Like I know sometimes in Africa you need to have, before going there, you need to have shots or anything. Do you need a visa, or it's just a regular passport when going to Israel?
It's a regular passport to go to Israel. You don't need to have any shots, any special shots. We are not in Africa. We are a Western country, and our services, our medical services are wonderful. So there are not any limitations for that.
Wonderful. Let's see what else here. We got some questions here. Let's see.
Sometimes we are going on groups. Sometimes we are going privately. So our groups are from 6 to 10 people. So you are invited to come.
What is your experience working with blind people? Is it just you, or you have a number of tour guides that you work with? What has been your experience working with blind people?
Actually, I managed a society for the blind before I started this business. I managed a society for the blind in Haifa. I worked with the blind people for 4 years before starting this business, and now on the tours, I'm an official tour guide. And we have also some other tour guides that I'm working with that are experienced working with the blind people. We are trying to do our best that the people will get the feelings around, the other senses will work. We are using to take people to taste wines, for example. We are using to take people to the markets and to feel and smell everything. We have a lot of places that you can touch models. So it's all set for you to come.
It's great that you've actually worked in the field of working with blind people prior to starting a tour company that specializes in people with all kinds of disabilities. So that's wonderful. And I know Israel is also part of the World Blind Union, which the National Federation of the Blind is actually part of as well. Dr. Frederick Schroeder is now our national representative of the World Blind Union. And I hope that we could actually one day have you come out to the United States and come to our national convention, which is always on July 4th week, and come and speak about your tours and your company. I know with the president of the Travel and Tourism Division very well, which is myself, we would be honored if you could come one year and speak at our annual meeting. We'll be in Orlando, Florida for the next 6 years, so you have an open door with us to come and speak and talk about your tour company. Are there any particular times a year that you don't do the tours? I mean, during Jewish holidays or the Christian holidays or the Muslim holidays, are there any times of the year you don't recommend due to, any times that are hotter than others? That what's the perfect time to visit Israel? What's the best weather?
Actually, all year long is a good time to come. As in any other country, we have seasons, but the seasons here are more moderate than in the States, for example. Today it's about 70 degrees, so these are the winter temperatures here. So it's moderate, and you can come every time. In the summer, sometimes it raises up to 90, 95, but still there's shade, and you can go all the year long. We don't have too many snow over here. Sometimes it's a day or two or something like that during the year, and that's it.
As I was mentioning about the Jewish holidays like Passover and Easter and stuff like that, are there any special tours, or you don't do them that time of year?
We are doing the tours whenever people like to do it. During the holidays, it's a little more expensive, because the hotels are asking for higher prices. But and also sometimes the sites are packed because the Israelis are also going out for holidays. So all the rest is okay, as in every other country.
Wonderful. I want to thank you very much for coming on the show tonight. And
thank
again,
you very much for hosting me.
That is Eli, and please pronounce your last name, because I'm like myself. I hate people destroying my last name. So please pronounce your last name for me again.
Eli Meir.
Eli Meir. Thank you so much. And if anybody's looking to go to Israel, I highly recommend it. No matter what religion you are, how old or young you are, and as Eli said, that as we all know, the news loves to take things out of content, and to things like this go on all over the world. So I want to thank you very much for coming on tonight, Eli, and I'll speak to you soon. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
As we continue with the show, I wanted to bring up some things that are, of course, the ECHEVARRIA Travel is on the first Wednesday of every month at 8:00 p.m. and we are a live show. And the show for the 800 number for all our shows is 1-888-572-0141. The set coming up in the next week is going to be on the bright side with Jane and Jerry Marino, which is at 8:00 p.m. And they're going to be having Carol Castellano, who is the Parents of Blind Children former president, and is also will be on the show with them next Wednesday night at 8:00 p.m. So we hope you will come and listen to all our shows. Wednesday show is the original Through Our Eyes with Joe Ruffalo. And the last Wednesday of the month is Looking Good Without Looking with Linda Zaney Thomas and Joanna Bacan talking all about fashion and makeup and all the latest and greatest in fashion there. And Joe talks about all the NFB issues and some really great guests coming on. Also, in April, I will be going with the NFB of New Jersey. We are doing the very first fundraiser for the NFB of New Jersey, which is a cruise to Bermuda. And I'll be sailing with Joe and Judith Ruffalo and my husband Nelson and Max and a number of other people from the NFB in New Jersey. So we're going on a 5-day cruise to Bermuda. And one of the highlights of the trip is on the 16th, as I mentioned back when I came back from Bermuda in November, that we're meeting the president of the Society for the Blind. Her name, in the meantime, I wanted to say good night and God bless. And we hope you continue to be patrons of the WTOE network. Have a great evening, Lenny. Have a great night. Talk to you soon. See you all next month. Good night.
The Echevarria Travel Show is brought to you by Echevarria Travel, home of the independent traveler since 2009, specializing in worldwide destinations for the blind community. For more information on Echevarria Travel, call Cheryl at 631-456-5394 or email her at reservations@echevarriatravel.com. All words, ideas, and contents expressed on this show are those of Cheryl Echevarria and not necessarily those of the National Federation of the Blind, the Northeast New Jersey Chapter, or the WTOE Internet Radio Network. Until next time, I'm Keith Zalley.
Let's go. Cruise like a Norwegian.
Hi, this is Joe Ruffalo of WTOE Radio. If you are a resident in New Jersey and would like to join one of chapters or have some more information about our chapters, please contact me at 973-743-0075 or email me at nfbnj@yahoo.com.
How would you feel if your children went to school and weren't taught to read? What would the future hold for them? Today, a mere 10% of blind children are taught to read Braille. Literacy is a basic right, and with it, a blind person can become just about anything. With Braille, a blind person can read at the same rate as a sighted person. This opens doors to unlimited potential. Learning to read Braille is the key to success. Without it, a blind child doesn't have a chance. For more information on Braille literacy and blindness, please visit our website at www.nfb.org or contact me, Mark Maurer, President, National Federation of the Blind, 1800 Johnson Street, Baltimore, Maryland, 21230, or call us at 410-659-9314. The National Federation of the Blind. We are the voice of the nation's blind.
Are you stuck in front of your computer listening to our shows? Well, you may be happy to know that you don't have to be anymore. Hi, this is Keith Zalley, your announcer here at WTOE Radio. Of course, you know we broadcast live on ThroughOurEyes.org, but did you know we simulcast on Facebook, Ustream.tv, as well as all of our show's host websites? And now you don't have to be stuck trying to catch your favorite show on your computer. You can listen or even watch our shows live right on your smartphone or iPad. During broadcast nights, just point your phone or iPad browser to our mobile site, m.throughoureyees.org, and click on the Listen or Watch Live link. WTOE also offers many smart apps for your iPhone, BlackBerry, Android, Windows Mobile, or Nokia phones, iPads too. All for free. Visit our main site, www.throughoureyees.org/appstores.html, and download your free app today. Hi, I'm Keith Zalley, your announcer here at throughoureeyes.org. Thanks for tuning in to WTOE Radio's live broadcast. Our recording session will start shortly. While you are waiting, I'd like to ask all our listeners who have not yet registered at Through Our Eyes to consider doing so. Registering helps us ascertain whom our listeners are, where they come from, if they are blind or visually impaired, as well as other important information which helps us guide us in providing programming that will meet our visitors' needs. I urge all our listeners to register today. It's free and only takes a minute to complete the process. Please read our privacy policy so you can be assured that the information you provide stays with us and only us, and you'll never get any unwanted emails. Well, we're almost ready to begin. Since what you are about to listen to is live, after each recording of the show, you'll hear approximately 15 minutes of music. This is the time we are contacting our next guest for the next show. When the show starts, you'll hear it in its entirety. Our recording sessions usually comprise 3 separate shows, each about 15 to 20 minutes in length, with approximately 15 minutes between each session. So once again, thanks for listening to WTOE Radio Live. Our recording session will start momentarily. I'm Keith Zalley.
Welcome to Stepping Forward, an engaging, no-nonsense approach to life's problems with your host, licensed clinical psychologist Tamara White. Let Tamara's keen wit and straightforward delivery help make sense out of life's complex issues such as child rearing, sex education in adulthood, dealing with the elderly, and so much more. Tamara will inspire, motivate, and amuse you while dealing with real-world scenarios. And now, here's Tamara.
Okay. Hey everyone, welcome to March Madness, craziness time. So like I told you guys last month in February when we were going through all of our Valentines and how we were heartbroken, or I was heartbroken, maybe it was just me, I promised you that this month and all of this craziness that we were going to have a special guest. And so tonight I have brought with me, who's going to share with you today, another counselor, although I do believe you're going to see she's got quite a bit more skills than I do. So let me tell you a little bit. Her name is Kelly P. Crossing. She has been a counselor in the Dallas Metroplex area for several years. She is also the founder of Link Learning Center, which is an online training education service for professionals, therapists, or individuals. So we're going to hear a take on a counselor and what her regular day looks like, and I want to ask questions that I never get to ask because I'm the counselor, so I want to ask another counselor some of these things, and you are more than welcome to join me in that. So as we're getting her ready to come aboard, we're going to take a really quick break, and she's going to come on, and we're just going to have a good time for this next hour. So join us. We'll see you in just a minute.
What is a hero? They're gonna jump out of trees. They'll go down the slide head first. They'll make parachutes out of sheets. They'll balance. They're gonna jump out of trees.
What is a hero? Are heroes born, or are they made? In after-school programs, your kids will uncover hidden strengths, discover they have the power to change their future, and find the hero inside themselves. Let us know you on after-school programs in your area. Call 1-800-USA-LEARN. After-school programs, helping kids find the hero within.
You put your keys between your knuckles. You walk in well-lit areas.
Hello?
Someone approaches you and you grasp your cell phone tightly, ready at any second to dial the number for help. You lock the door behind you, once, twice, maybe 3 times. Now you feel safe, secure. You think you've made the right choices to protect yourself. Think again. Because if you're not making healthy choices, you could be one of the nearly 2 out of 3 women killed by cancer, diabetes, heart disease, or stroke. So eat right, get active, don't smoke, see your doctor, and live. Learn to protect yourself from yourself at 1-866-399-6789 or visit us at everydaychoices.org. A message from the American Cancer Society, American Diabetes Association, American Heart Association, and the Ad Council.
Remember the time you almost volunteered to work in a soup kitchen? Or when you almost visited the Veterans Hospital? Or when you almost brought dinner to your neighbor with AIDS? Remember all the times you almost helped, almost gave? Well, it's only human, this almost giving. But the truth is, it's the same as not giving at all. Don't almost give, give. Visit our website at don'talmostgive.org. A message from the Ad Council.
And now, back to Stepping Forward. Here's Tamra.
Okay, welcome back. So here we are, like I was telling you earlier, I'm here with my friend, my colleague, Kelly Crossing, and I need her to educate me as well as all of us, and so I'm very, very honored to have her be able to step in with us tonight, and we can all ask some questions, so I'll go with it from here, but let me introduce her. Hey, Kelly, are you there?
Yeah, Tamara, I'm right here. Hey.
It is so good to have you. Thank you. I know I kind of put you on this spot, asking you to come in and try to counsel me. Often I do that to you. I do that to her all the time. I'm like, I need some counseling, and so this is my right-hand person to go to and give me all those skills. So who better to be on the show to talk about some of these issues than you, the person I go to all the time. So thank you for being here.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Tamara. I'm really excited to be here.
Okay, so if you don't mind, I kind of told everyone you're about the Link Learning Center, and this is something that you've established. And we're going to talk about that in a little while. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to kind of talk to you broadly about some counseling concerns that we've had. And if you've listened to some of my shows, you'll find that we go all over the place here. So kind of hang tight with me and give me a little bit of slack, because you know me well enough to know that I don't always stay focused anyway, right?
I do know that about you, Tamara. It's one of the things I love about you.
Okay. So talk to me about the kind of counseling you do. Tell everyone what kind of counseling you do.
Okay. Actually, I do lots of different kinds. As you know, and as anyone who has been a therapist or who is a therapist knows, when you're in private practice, you really do just kind of take the various types of issues and the different clients that come in the door, basically. For me, I really started out working with lots of teenagers. I was a counselor in a school setting, and had a lot of teenagers that I worked with in the school setting, and that really just kind of flowed over into working with a lot of teenagers in private practice as well. That's a population that I really love. They're just very near and dear to my heart. But from teens, that kind of also meant that I ended up working with lots of families. I also, in the last couple of years, have started doing more couples counseling because, one of the things I've learned, and I know you know this as well, everything is a system. It's really difficult to work with an individual without really understanding what's going on with their family as well. And even with individual counseling, it's fairly common to work with the spouse or the partner or the family members at some point. So I do a little bit of all those different populations.
It's interesting because you start with the teenagers, and then you said you go into the families, and then you go into the couples, which kind of sounds like that might be the root of it in the first place, right?
It always is. It's one of the things that has surprised me, though I don't know why it surprised me in the beginning, was when teenagers especially were having difficulty, acting out in some way, failing grades, or, getting in trouble at school or outside of school, those kinds of things. How many parents would come to me and, basically, and I'm saying this a bit facetiously, but, something along the lines of, here, fix my kid. When really nothing happens in a vacuum, as any therapist knows. It's generally, if something's going on with a teenager in a family, there's something going on in the family, and you can't overlook that when you're thinking about therapy with anybody.
That is not a popular assumption from the family, right?
No. Well, I should say many families are really open to whatever needs to happen to, help their child, that they're willing to do. But there are a lot of families, unfortunately, that, assume it's just their child's problem, and it's not necessarily something going on in the family. So those are hard issues to work through, but sometimes you can be successful with the family, and sometimes they don't want to hear that, which is sad.
It is sad, and then maybe you lose a patient or so, right? Because if they don't want to hear that they have something to do with it.
It's so true. It's so true. I can actually remember one client in particular, because this just broke my heart. She was really struggling, a teenage girl. She was really struggling, and I had a number of conversations with her mom, just trying to, help them communicate better. And ultimately, her mom got upset with me and stopped bringing her to counseling. I truly hope they ended up going to a different counselor, but my guess is that they didn't. And it was just one of those tough situations. The mom just was not in a place where she was ready to hear what she could do differently to make the situation better. She really just truly wanted her teenager to start, behaving differently, but she didn't want to join that and do some things different herself, which is it was such a terrible situation. I think about her often, actually, and wonder how she's doing. and I've tried to reach her and was unsuccessful at that. So I don't actually know, but it does happen.
That's very ambitious. Very ambitious. So this family didn't necessarily get the book that comes with the kid that says what to do with them and how to raise them?
No, I think the book, they were out that day at the bookstore.
Do you want to, maybe you could write the how to have a baby for dummies or anything like that? They have any kind of a dummy book. You could be how to deal with teens for dummies.
I don't know. I could try. I don't know that I'm the expert on that, but I could certainly try. Maybe you could help me.
It doesn't matter if you're the expert because they're the dummies, remember? So that would be cool. That would be fine. Okay, so let me ask you this. Especially with the teens, but in everything that's been going on, I see trends. Do you see trends?
I do.
Are there any kind of trends? Tell us about that.
Yeah. Lately, and I don't know if you've seen this in particular, but I certainly have, anxiety issues and worry and things like that. Those types of emotional issues are very predominant these days among my clients anyway. And I don't know if it's a factor of just what's kind of going on in the world today and in, America and our society. There's just so much happening. I don't know if that's really a large contributor or if it's something else, but it is interesting to me that over the few years, I've been in practice about 7 years, and I have seen trends like that go up and down. Depression, has certainly been a trend at times. Anxiety seems to be trending right now. And I'm seeing a lot more serious anxiety types of issues, rather than the ones that I saw when I first began as a counselor that were, something to be concerned about, but not causing true panic disorders. But I'm seeing a lot more of those types of things right now. How about you? Are you seeing that in your practice?
I am seeing a lot of anxiety and depression. You know what is probably the most for me is going to be the couples counseling and relationship issues, and that could be stemming from financial worries all the way to the kids. And it's really, for me, it's hard to figure out which came first, the chicken or the egg. It's really hard to figure out what is the root of all of this. But you know what? I wanted to ask you, because I was thinking about this for myself. What do you think about all of these new reality shows? And, there's even one about therapists. Have you seen that? I think it's brand new. I don't remember where it is, but do you know what I'm talking about?
I think I do, because I saw about 2 minutes of it either yesterday or the day before. It's something called LA Shrinks or something like that. Is that what you're talking about?
It is, and okay. I'm not feeling like I'm those people whatsoever. I think I'm missing something somewhere.
Yeah, honestly, I watched about 2 minutes of it. It just happened to come on. I had never even heard of it, but I thought, oh, this might be interesting. Obviously, it's my field and that kind of thing. But it didn't really, I'm like you. That was not me. That's not the type of therapist that I am, just a little bit that I saw. And honestly, I was quite concerned that there would be a camera in a therapy room. I mean, one of the hallmarks of therapy is the confidentiality and the privacy that we really hold dear. And I mean, obviously the clients in those situations know the camera's there, so they must have agreed to it. But I don't know. That's just a real concern to me, to put something that's supposed to be very private, out on over the airwaves like that. I don't know. It just wasn't me.
Money talks, girl.
This is
money
true.
Talks. Money talks. Sadly. Okay, yes. So what do you think about some of these things? There's been a lot of question about the I don't know, do you do substance abuse? I mean, hold on, let me finish this thought, because I have random thoughts. I know I have random thoughts. Okay, so do you do substance abuse counseling? And what are your thoughts like when it's on reality shows and the Dr. Drew and all of that? I know he's taken kind of a hit because the Mindy McCready had committed suicide, and I think that they said something like 4 or 5 of the people on the show had. So I wonder, do you think that the publicity of airing all of our problems out is really detrimental? Do you think it's healthy? I am so excited just to get someone else's view and just to hear what your thoughts are.
I think that is a really good question. First of all, I wonder if it's healthy. I mean, substance abuse counseling, first I should actually say I am not a substance abuse counselor per se. Certainly I can work with that issue, on kind of a mid-level, but I am not a licensed substance abuse counselor or anything, and I don't have an expertise in that area. So as far as actual substance abuse counseling, I typically refer clients that have very serious issues in that area out to someone who is an expert in that area. That being said, it really does worry me that a lot of counseling, or at least what appears to be counseling, is taking place on reality TV shows, and it does make me wonder what the net effects of that are. Yeah, with that program and the suicide of Mindy McCready and the others, I don't know if the, airing of all of those things contributed to their decisions to commit suicide. They may have, they may not have, I don't know. But I do know that working through those things is so difficult and takes someone so long. And, of course, the relapse rate for anyone dealing with substance abuse issues, is very high. Even when they are ultimately successful, the relapse rate is still very high. I think it puts an additional pressure on people when they're in the public eye like that, especially when they go through therapy in the public eye like that. And as a therapist, I really can't see that that's healthy. I don't know. I don't know if that's something that I really even have the expertise level to say, but that is my opinion. I think focusing on maybe some of the other things like the money, like you said earlier, we'll do so much for $1. Focusing on those things, I wonder if it did and does ultimately harm the clients on those programs. So I don't know.
It just seems like everything now is very spotlighted and,
yes.
Kind of talking about the trend that we were just talking about, and the same about these reality shows is one thing. I think you and I think we mentioned, I mentioned to you really briefly once, was that an area of kids that I see, which is more of a wealthier area, then it's really cool to have a therapist. And, it's kind of trendy in itself to have a therapist. So I don't know where that's kind of coming from. So that's kind of where I went into that whole TV show and what your thoughts are on that. And, again, it's back, I think, in the day, people didn't want to admit that they had any kind of issue whatsoever. And now it's almost a social thing to have some kind of a disorder, so to speak. So,
right.
I have found that going on a little bit. So that's kind of different. So
I agree. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm sorry. I talk a lot, Kelly, right? This is not new to you.
No, this is true. I do know this about you, but I can give you a run for your money for sure.
I should raise my right hand whenever I want to speak so that it'll be like my time, like who has the conch, right? Okay. So anyway, tell everyone, how do you think counseling really helps people? Because I have so many people who will come and they will be like, this is so dumb. I don't know why I have to come here. Someone's making me come here, or this is a referral, or my job wants me to come here. And, even kids will look at me like, well, okay, what are you going to do for me? So, I kind of have told our audience, what I think is so wonderful. Your turn.
Okay. I actually am someone that used to think that myself. I couldn't imagine that counseling could really actually help a situation. I certainly could believe that it might make some people feel better. Just being able to talk to someone in confidence and things like that might make someone feel better. But as far as actually helping a situation, I really did not understand how that could help. And then I went to a really good counselor, and I saw things very differently. That's actually what made me decide to become a counselor. But just talking to someone, I think counseling actually offers several different things. But just the talking itself, just being able to talk to someone who's kind of an objective third party, that can really just put things into perspective. And often it gives us a different perspective or a different viewpoint than we might have had on our own. I think so many times people, including myself, we just get trapped in this notion of tunnel vision, and we see whatever it is we're dealing with, and we only see one or two options, and we feel trapped, and then we don't know what to do, and then that can increase our worry or our anxiety. Sometimes it causes some depression and stuff like that. And a counselor is trained to really put things in different perspectives for us and to kind of reframe things for us, and help us see that we may have options that we didn't really think that we might have had. So for the talking piece of it, I think that's actually very valuable. And then the other piece of it, and this is kind of where I try to focus in my practice, counseling is really designed to help people make changes. So many people, know where they want to go, or at least they know where they don't want to go, and they don't know how to get there. They don't know how to take the basic day-by-day steps to try to make real change in their life so that they can be happier or less worried or more content, or, whatever the situation may be. And change is hard. Nobody likes to change. We all have a tendency to think that, the way we believe is probably the right way. And it's very difficult to change. And that's really, for me anyway, the primary role of the counselor is to help someone walk through that process of change, to figure out what they need to do and take the steps in order to do it so that they can get closer to the life that they want to lead. I've seen that work for myself. I've seen that actually work for my clients, and it's a tall order, but it's one that is very helpful. So I don't know. What do you think?
That was great. No, I love how you put that. I love how you put that. I think a lot of, I'm like, a lot of times I will tell people, I'll be like, not everyone needs counseling, but I do believe everyone can benefit from it, I don't want it to sound sometimes that counseling itself is just a cliche and, the sun's going to come out tomorrow and everything's going to be better. And so, I like the approach that you take that says, it's an objective third party. It's kind of interesting. I didn't know this about you. So you said you talked to a counselor, and that's kind of what led you into feeling like that. Do you ever feel like, who counsels the counselor? And do you think that people might look at you differently if you've been a counselor? Because you do know you're supposed to be perfect, right?
So I've heard. No, that's actually funny, because as one of my I don't know if it's a technique, because that makes it sound where like it's not maybe real, but one of the things I do in therapy with others is if I have something relevant that I have been through, I will often share that. And so many of my clients are surprised to hear things like, I'm dealing with something difficult in my life at the moment, or, I've had a difficult relationship with somebody in my life. They're surprised by that. And that actually opens up an opportunity for a really good dialogue about the fact that we're all human And, just because I'm a therapist and you're a therapist, that doesn't mean we're immune or have all of the answers to solving, all of the problems. We, of course, deal with problems just like everybody else. Sometimes those are more difficult for us and sometimes, they're not. But certainly being a counselor has helped me in my relationships in my life. There's no doubt about it. I am a much healthier person than I have ever been. Now, after I've been a counselor for many years. And I say, and I say this to my clients as well, I hope I learn as much, or I hope they learn as much from me as I learn from them, because I have learned so much by working with clients. I truly grow to care about them, and I just, they have made my life so much richer and better just by what they've taught me. And I hope that they are getting the same from me. But yeah, it's funny that you say that people expect us to be perfect and not to have any problems. I think they do actually have that viewpoint many times, but I quickly correct them on that and let them know, oh no, I have plenty of problems.
I'm a little disappointed because I don't think that you told me you had problems. So now I'm a little concerned, and I didn't imagine you being human. I wanted you to be alien-like or perfect-like or whatever the case may be. But
that's just that part of me that you don't know yet, Tamara.
I'm going to learn this. I have to bring you on the show before I can learn anything about my neighbor in the same clinic that I'm working in, right?
There you go.
Okay, so let's talk about this. So you said that, talking to someone, sometimes just being an objective party, a third party helps them. I completely agree with that. But what do you think the difference is? Is because I think that your style, my style, I think we're very similar. Mm-hmm. I kind of address people and I'm like, I'm not really a touchy-feely kind of counselor, and some people are, and some people are more probably like you and I, more realistic and realist. So how do you think that we teach people, or how do you think that people like listening in know what they want? Because some people really might need a supportive counselor, and it's not to say that we're not I'll speak for myself. It's not that I'm not compassionate. It's just that I am very solution focused, problem goal oriented. Let's solve that. So, maybe some people do just want to talk. And so when you're looking for counselors, which is already, again, it's trendy in my area right now with teens. Some areas it's still taboo. Some is still embarrassing. It's still like you're a problem person. So when someone actually gets the courage to reach out and find a counselor, what do they know? What is it that you think that they should be looking for? And I think this is really good information. I would like to hear your thoughts on that.
I think that's so important. I know for me, both when I was looking for a counselor for myself years ago, and then in my discussions with, people who end up becoming my clients, and even, I guess, with those who don't, there truly has to be a connection. I try, with any new client, I try to spend a few minutes with them, like 15 minutes or so on the phone before I ever actually make an appointment with them, to see if I am going to, be someone that could connect with them, and to see if they're going to feel comfortable with me. Obviously, you can't know for sure in a 15-minute phone call, but you can get a sense of whether or not there is likely to be a connection. And that really, for me, is the key. I am, like you, very solution-focused, very much wanting to, get down to what exactly is going on in their lives. What is it that is, what are they coming to counseling for? What are they wanting to do, or what are they wanting to change? But the connection is really the key. In fact, I mean, for me in life, it's the connection with anyone in our lives. That's the key to happiness. You know, truly being able to connect with other people is the difference between often happiness and a sense of unhappiness or dissatisfaction with life. So when people are seeking out a counselor, one of my best pieces of advice would be to try to talk to them on the phone and see if you get kind of that warm, fuzzy feeling from them. See if they're going to be someone that you think you could talk to. If you can talk to them easily on the phone, then likely you're going to be able to talk to them easily in person. But I often look at that first session as kind of a test. You know, people don't necessarily become a client until after a first session, because you don't really know till you've met them in person if you're going to have that connection, if things are going to click. And that's where it really, I guess, the rubber meets the road. That's where it's really important to kind of go in as a client, to kind of go in and be open-minded about it, but to also listen to your gut. If something's telling you that this person either is or isn't a good match for you, I would say listen to that. That's one of the things that actually is very hard about finding a counselor, because if you've tried a couple and didn't feel a connection, it can be really difficult to decide to try again. And that's where I think a phone call comes into play. Now, some practices are large enough that the therapists themselves don't end up speaking on the phone with new clients or potential new clients, but that's something that I think is actually pretty important. And if I were going out and seeking a counselor right now, I personally would insist on that. Anyone who didn't want to spend 15 minutes with me on the phone, I probably would just move on to somebody else. So.
Yeah, that's not a really good sign, is it? If they can't talk to you just to interview you.
Right. You know, I've actually had clients, and I think, Tamara, you and I have talked about this. I've had clients, parents, who have come in and interviewed me before they bring their kids to see me, which I think is amazing, actually. That doesn't happen very often, but I think it's a great idea, because that counselor relationship, you know, is very delicate and it is very intimate. I mean, not physically, obviously, but it's very emotionally intimate. And so, you know, the idea of interviewing counselors before you make a decision is a really good one.
All right. Sorry, did you just say, sorry, you guys, did you say something, Lynn? I didn't hear something. Oh, all right, just checking. Okay, so, Kelly, what do you think ultimately is the biggest thing that we should really talk about as counselors that you want everyone to see? I mean, what about psychology in general? I mean, I know you do some Skype counseling. Do you want to talk about that for a second?
Sure. Skype counseling, or counseling just over the internet in its various forms, is actually kind of coming into vogue right now. It has been for a little while, and we are seeing more and more of that. And I actually do a little bit of counseling via Skype as well. There are people that think it's a terrible idea. There are people that think it's a great idea. And then there are a lot of people kind of in the middle. There are definitely some legal and ethical issues that you have to take into account if you're a counselor or a therapist, and even if you're a client, that, you know, sometimes Skype counseling is a great alternative, especially if you already know the counselor, or if you already know the client, and you already have an established relationship. That can be a really great way to have a session without necessarily taking the time out to, you know, meet at the office or whatever. So it can really be a good thing. I personally have seen it be difficult when you're trying to establish a new client via Skype, because there's just, you know, you just can't get that,
so what do you mean about
eye
that?
Contact that's necessary. Go ahead, Tamara. I'm sorry.
No. That's what I was asking you is what do you mean? I mean, we're gonna take a break here in a second, and I have a lot of questions about this Skype because we are, you know, national here and everyone can do this, and I know that you and I are Texas and you do Texas Skype and all of this good stuff, I think there's a lot of questions that probably you could answer, because I have no idea how this goes. But so how can someone find you or a counselor that does Skype?
Oh, sure. Actually, on some of the big websites where you can just find counselors, it often says Psychology Today has one, Good Therapy has one, and there are many others out there. So most of the profiles of the counselors on those sites will say whether or not they, do counseling via the web or via Skype or any other thing like that. That kind of becomes part of the profile these days when counselors fill those things out. So that's one way to look. But I think you can also just do a Google search, just type in Skype counselor in your state or in your city and see what comes up. There are legal issues for counselors that we really have to keep in mind. You mentioned that we're both in Texas, and counselors in general should be licensed in the state where they're practicing. So I'm licensed in Texas, of course, but I'm not licensed, for example, in, Louisiana or New Jersey or any other state. So if I had a client in New Jersey, I'm not actually licensed in New Jersey. And so the laws really haven't caught up to the technology these days, but it's something to take very, very seriously, because no counselor needs to be working or practicing outside of their jurisdiction where they're licensed, because that could, be harmful to them for their careers and their practices, but it could also end up being harmful to the clients, which is the bigger issue, because when you're not licensed in any given state, you may not know all of the specific laws of the states, which is why the licensure is so important. So there are some little tricky, dicey issues that as counselors we really have to take note of. I've got a client right now who's about to move, that I see her via Skype, and she's about to move to another state. And so we have already begun having the talks of once she moves, I'm not going to be able to be her counselor any longer because I'm not licensed in the state that she's moving. So it is some dicey kinds of issues. Yeah.
Maybe she shouldn't move because you're so awesome. And
well,
yeah, it's okay to say that you're just really great, Kelly. It's all right. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a break, and then I have more Skype counseling things because you're my guru, and I am watching too many daily shows about all kinds of freaky counselors if you just push Google and you get people. So you're going to inform us about all of this good stuff, okay?
Okay, great.
All right, let's take a break, and then we'll talk about this in a few minutes. All right, everyone, hang tight. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Michelle Paulette from WTOE Radio. We're going to take a few extra minutes while we save our files for podcast, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 4 short minutes.
They're gonna jump out of trees. They'll go down the slide head first. They'll make parachutes out of sheets. They'll balance on things that are impossible to balance on, like the back of a couch. They'll run with sharp objects. They'll climb things that won't hold their weight. They'll put their fingers in places where they could get smashed. They'll drive their tricycles down steep hills. They'll bounce balls off their faces. They'll step on each other. They'll jump on each other. They'll invent whole new ways to put themselves in jeopardy. But one of the most dangerous things kids will do happens while they're sitting perfectly still. Kids who ride in a car without a booster seat are much more likely to suffer serious or fatal injury during a crash than kids in boosters. But amazingly, 80% of all kids who need them aren't in them. After a toddler seat and until they're 4'9", booster kids, and don't let them down.
Go to boosterseat.gov to learn more about the importance of boosters. A message from the U.S. Department of Transportation and the Ad Council.
Oh, hi, Jessica.
Hi, Mrs. Johnson. Is Megan there?
Sure. Follow me. The kids are in the kitchen making sandwiches.
I know. Hey, Julie. Hi, Jessica. Hi, Megan. Hey, Megan.
Yeah?
You're a total freak. God, you're ugly.
And dumb. Oh, and your makeup makes you look like a tramp. Tommy Morris told me you guys made out. Everybody knows. The whole school knows. He said your breath smelled like garbage, and he almost puked. He says you're the most desperate girl he knows. And that dress is totally hideous. You look like a big fat clown. Disgusting. Oh, and by the way, nice zit.
If you wouldn't say it in person, why say it online? Delete cyberbullying. Don't write it, don't forward it. For more information, visit ncpc.org. A message from the U.S. Department of Justice, Crime Prevention Coalition of America, National Crime Prevention Council, and the Ad Council.
Well, howdy! Thanks for coming to Big Bubba's. We got a mess of used cars. What can we do for you?
We're looking for, something cute.
Well, here's a beauty, a 99 model with a moonroof. As a bonus, we'll throw in a leaking gas tank. You could be driving and kaboom! Adds that zing of excitement.
You got any other cars?
Wouldn't it be great if you could be warned of life's risks? If you have diabetes, you can. There's a simple blood test called A1C that can help measure your risk of complications such as heart attack. Why is it important? Because 2 out of 3 people with diabetes die from a heart attack or stroke. If your A1C is above 7, your doctor can show you how to lower it. If you have diabetes, know your risk for heart attack. Know your A1C. Ask your doctor, or for more information, go to www.diabetesa1c.org or call 1-877-TEST-A1C. Brought to you by the American Diabetes Association, Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation International, and the Ad Council.
Hello.
Is Joey home?
Joey, the door.
Joseph.
Yeah.
Hello, son. I'm Dean Rubin from college. I'm here to invite you to join us this fall.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Give me a day.
Well, we've reviewed your application.
Give me an E.
No, wait. Right, you didn't actually fill out an application.
I didn't think I had to.
You know what? That's fine. Because your algebra grade certainly... No? Wait, you didn't actually take...
Well, no one told me I was supposed to...
whatever. You really want to go to college, and we really want to have you.
Joey, out of bed.
Hey, wake up. You can't dream your way into college. There are actual steps you need to take. For all the steps, visit knowhowtogo.org. Brought to you by the American Council on Education, Lumina Foundation for Education, and the Ad Council.
And now, back to Stepping Forward. Here's Tamra.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Welcome back. Glad you stayed instructed on joined us, or if you with me now? All right, sorry you guys. I think I had the bad connection there for a second. So we're still working on this. I'm still working on this. Okay, so thank you for joining me again. And if you missed the first part and you're just now getting here, I'm talking to Kelly Crossing, and she is a fellow licensed professional counselor, and she is also a founder of Link Learning Center, and she's going to talk about that in just a little while as some educational services for everyone. So what we were talking about right before we went to break is the Skype counseling, and this is a kind of a big deal to me for this show, because I am in Texas and she is in Texas and you guys are all over the place. And I know a lot of people don't have the convenience or the opportunity or whatever the case may be to go out and travel to a counselor. So with technology, with everything that's come about in the last few years, credentialing and such, we can now do Skype counseling. And Kelly was telling us that it is really important if you want to get a credible psychologist or counselor to visit with, and that you're going to actually pay your money to, then you do need to understand that there are licensure issues that is going to be important for whatever state that you're in. So this is important to me because, you know, I guess I watch way too much TV, but I know that there's all kinds of reality shows about counseling, And I've seen some talk shows into where people will just say, I want a counselor, and there's counselor.com, and there's just, all kind. I mean, I don't know what counselor.com is, but there's something like that, and it could just be someone who just says, I'm a counselor. So I really wanted to make sure that you guys all are aware that if you do want to reach out, like Kelly was telling you, on Skype counseling, and you do want this in-home service and all that, please try to make sure that they are licensed in the state that you are in and where this is coming from. Because, again, me being in Texas could not counsel someone in New Jersey or California without the proper credentials. And it is quite possible for a counselor to have several state licensures, and that's fine. But, there's a lot of gimmicks online too that just says call, this number or text us, or, and if it sounds too good to be true, hello cliche, but it is. So if it sounds like that, not. Okay. That was my preaching sermon. It's not even Sunday. Kelly, did you want to add anything, or did I kind of hit that?
Actually, if you don't mind, I'm going to add one thing to that. I think anyone who is seeking a counselor via the internet at any kind, whether it's Skype or anything else, I think you should have an expectation that you would be treated the very same as if you were coming into the office. It should be the same professionalism that you experience as if you were coming into the office. Counselors always have clients complete paperwork in order when they first become clients. We typically call it intake paperwork or intake forms or something like that. But you even via Skype or any other web-based counseling format, you should really be seeing a counselor that asks you to do all of the same things that you would be expected to do if you were in the office. And I think that's just really a good rule of thumb to kind of cut down on some of the scam artists that might be out there. That would just try to take advantage of somebody. So it is something that's growing and emerging, and I think those of us in this field need to embrace that, because I think it does offer many people the opportunity to visit with a counselor when they might not have otherwise had the opportunity. But understanding the pitfalls and how to best protect yourself is important too. So that's all I wanted to add. Thanks.
That was a good addition, girl. That was good.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your Link Learning Center. Let's talk about your website, because there has a lot of valuable information about that. Let's talk about that a little bit, and then we'll go on from there. So tell us about that.
Okay. About a year and a half ago, when I was looking for some training, I don't know if the audience members are aware of just the various training and education that counselors, probably in all states, really need to have. But we have to maintain our licenses every year or every 2 years or every 3 years. Different states have different rules about that. But in order to maintain our licenses, we have to get training and education, as many professions have to do that. So I, about a year and a half ago, was looking for some online training, because that's something that's easy, and I can do it at home and things like that. I didn't have to go find a seminar, and I took an online training class, which did give me the number of credits I needed, or the number of hours that I needed, but it was really bad, and I won't say who it was with or anything, but it was terrible, very low quality. And I have a background in training and development. Before I became a counselor, decided to go back to school to become a counselor, I had a background in training and education. And I just kind of looked at it like this was a really good opportunity for me to use, both of the skill sets that I really have as a counselor and as someone who has done a lot of training and development. And I just kind of looked into the whole idea of putting a website together to offer this, essentially the same thing I had taken, only better quality. And that's really what I did. And so Link Learning Center, we've been, it's been just at a year now that we've been up and running, and we're an online provider of training and development, continuing education for counselors and therapists. We have all different kinds of courses that you can look at. Our catalog is growing. We try to add new courses as much as we can. We have lots of different things that we offer to counselors and therapists that they can get their professional development or their training and education credits for that. But one of the other things I wanted to do was really tailor the courses so that they could be used by individuals or couples or families or, something like that, and not just have them for therapists. And so most of the courses are actually tailored for both. Some are just for therapists, but most aren't. And so far, it's really, it's been a great thing. I've learned a lot. I've gotten really good feedback from customers and everything, and it's been a labor of love for me to kind of meld both of my skill sets together and get to do something like that. And starting a small business is difficult at any time, and certainly it has been difficult in many ways. Learned a lot that I never even knew I didn't know, but it's been a great experience, and it's been a really cool thing. So.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you have so much going on. So do you feel like, can you tell us about how, a lot of our listeners are not going to be in the field that you and I are in, obviously.
Sure.
So, but when I was researching this and looking over your information, I thought this is really good information for anyone. So do you want to kind of tell them what you're hoping to achieve with the individual rather than just the whole skill set for the therapist itself?
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that I have always done in therapy with my clients is have activities, most of them written activities, but different things to either I assigned as homework or we did in session that really kind of helped consolidate and provide different perspectives and help people see different ways of looking at things. And so many of the courses are actually those activities with full instructions, obviously, attached to them that anybody can actually, get and complete the activity either on their own or maybe with their spouse or partner or a family member or even whole families. And that's been one of the biggest things that actually makes some of the stuff that I provide different from what's out there, because for therapists, there are activities that can be used in session with clients, but for people who aren't therapists, which is obviously most people, they are activities that, you can actually download and use. We have a really good activity called Life as a House, and you download it and you can, by assigning roles to yourself and the other members of your family, based on this perspective of a house, you can really gain a lot of insight as to what's going on in a family. And then you can take that insight and find ways to make things better. And you can really do that in many cases without the help of a therapist. Now, obviously, as a therapist, I recommend, going to a therapist for any issues that are serious or deep-seated. But, sometimes people just need, a different way of looking at things. They just need, some new ideas. And that's what many of the courses that I put together are really all about, especially the activity-based courses where you can just download stuff and go through it at your own time and learn something from it. And that's really what I was hoping to do, both for counselors and therapists and for individuals. And so far that has been successful and that has worked, and I've gotten really good feedback on them.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it because I looked at it and I'm going to get my CEUs this year through you, right?
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, so we're going to be winding down, and because we have gone over all of the specifics and everything that's so necessary about counseling and the good and the bad and the ugly and the Skype and the trends and the people that we see and all this good stuff, that now we need to get to the very important part. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready. Lay it on me.
Let's talk gossip.
Okay. Gossip
can be good. What do you think about all of this kind of stuff with everything that's going on? What is kind of the most fun thing that you do with counseling?
Oh, wow. The most fun? I have so much fun with my
stories?
clients.
Do you like these craziness stories? Do you ever feel like, oh my gosh, I wish I could tell everyone what just happened?
Oh, all the time. Oh my goodness, all the time. I want so badly to tell other clients what clients have been through and kind of some of the things. And obviously I don't do that. Or if I do tell some stories, I change the details, so that they would never know who it was, who I was actually talking about. But yes, I think we learn so much from each other. Like I said earlier, I've learned so much from my clients. And I know they could learn so much from each other that absolutely it would be awesome to be able to get like all of my clients together and let them talk to each other. I think they could learn a lot, but obviously we can't do that. But yeah, the stories are awesome. And I use lots of stories. I tell lots of stories. I think we learn a lot from those stories and analogies and everything. So I try to incorporate stuff like that anytime I'm talking to somebody. And plus, that just makes it more fun. We can relate to things much better when we can picture, other people, having the same experience or dealing with the same issue. So yeah, the story factor is big in counseling. I think it has to be.
It's kind of lonely, though, isn't it? I mean, I think I was thinking the other day, I thought, you know what? I saw like 10 people today, and I always start out with, hey, how are you? And yeah, I don't think anyone asked me how I was the whole day.
I agree. That is so funny that you say that. It is one of the most interesting things about being a counselor, because you're talking to people all day. It would sound like, it's a job that you have lots of interaction and social interaction, but actually you don't, because your clients, are not the people you socialize with. So yes, it's so weird that as much as we talk to people all day, every day, it can actually feel lonely for the counselors. And that's why I think it's important for counselors to actually, talk to each other, and I mean, for lots of reasons, professionally as well as personally. But yeah, it is a weird thing how you can feel lonely, and I have felt that as well. That's funny that you mentioned that, because it's so true.
Well, Miss Kelly, this has been so much fun with you, and I am sure everyone here has appreciated you being here rather than just listen to me talk for an entire hour. But this is so much fun for me because, I mean, I kind of feel like this was my own therapy session, because I really like to hear, what's going on. And when you and I visit, we're so done with the counseling aspect that we don't talk about counseling. Right. But I appreciate it so much. I think I really wanted you on here today because I really want everyone to understand the whole network of counseling and Skype counseling, and it doesn't have to be in your area, but I do want them to be aware of some of the pitfalls that you mentioned. And at the same time, if you're just trying to it's almost like auditing a college class, with your Link Learning Center, you don't have to be a therapist or such to kind of get these skills. And I'm kind of one of those people who I would always try to audit this kind of stuff so that I want to know what my educators are learning. So this is a really good field, and I'm totally going to bring you back, and we're going to have fun on maybe a different day that we can talk something exciting. It's too bad that I didn't have you in February when you heard you could have heard my sad Valentine's stories where I kind of felt sorry for myself for about 48 minutes, I think. So,
well, I could
anyway,
right in there
it's taken
with
a
you.
month, but I'm over that.
Well, Tamara, I just thank you so much for inviting me. I was admittedly a little nervous to be on a radio show. I've never been on a radio show before, but this has been great fun, and I would love to come back and visit with you again. You're an awesome therapist, and I am just so lucky to get to know you both professionally and personally, and I just really appreciate you trusting me enough to invite me onto this show. So thanks a lot.
Yay. Well, thank you. So I will see you soon. The audience will see you in the near future. Good deal?
Good deal. Sounds awesome.
All right. Well, thank everyone for being a part of our show tonight, for being a part of our March Madness, our craziness. If I knew more about basketball, then I could actually understand where the March Madness came from. But until then, so we'll figure out something for April and have a good time with that. So till I talk to you guys next time, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Stepping Forward with Tamara White, a licensed professional counselor and clinical psychologist, was brought to you by the WTOE Radio TV Network at throughouroureyes.org. For more information on tonight's show, or to reach Tamara directly, you may email her at twhitecounseling@yahoo.com or visit twhitecounseling.net. That's twhitecounseling.net. Special thanks to the numerous individuals and families that have stepped outside of the box to enlist assistance through therapy. All words, ideas, and comments expressed on Stepping Forward are those of Tamara White and not necessarily those of the National Federation of the Blind, the NFB of New Jersey, or the WTOE Radio TV Network. Until next time, I'm Michelle Paulette.
Done it again.
That's all, folks.
Hang on, ladies.